All right, good morning, everybody. Looks like most people have filtered in, so we'll go ahead and get started. We appreciate everybody joining the Alibi Security team for this live webinar. It's been a while since we've done one of these sessions, but we're super excited to have everybody join us today as we talk about migrating to compliant video solutions. Here at Alibi, we pride ourselves on really listening to our dealer partners, their input, and that helps us drive what solutions we bring to market. And there have been a lot of changes in the industry lately that have led us down this path of bringing on a new line of compliant video solutions. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. In the meantime, before we dive right into the material, I want to talk about who's going to be on and who's going to be speaking with you guys today. We've got the really, really smart people up top. Norman Ragland, who's our Director of Product Management, Patrick Liggett, who's one of our product managers, and then Luis Vela, who was in tech support for many, many years and now handles a lot of our video content. They're going to cover a lot of the technical aspects of our Vigilant line, which is our compliant video security solutions line. And then Robbie and I, Robbie Thomas, Director of Sales, and me, Chris Miller, Director of Marketing, will add some color in as necessary and ask some probing questions from the really smart technical guys. So just a few meeting logistics before we officially get started, folks. If you have questions during the session, in your Zoom window, there's a Q&A window down at the bottom of the webinar panel, okay? Use that. Don't use the chat, use the Q&A. I'll be monitoring that Q&A throughout the session. And where appropriate, I'll interject and ask those questions of our technical team or of Robbie so we can answer those during the flow of the webinar. If we don't hit on specific questions during the webinar, then we'll try to tackle those at the end, okay? And if for some reason we run out of time, because we want to be really cognizant of your time, we know it's valuable, any unanswered questions, we'll try to follow up directly from one of our dedicated account managers. And then more importantly, we always want to know what types of topics, whether it's video security, it's access control, third party products, you guys would like us to feature in webinars. So if you have any ideas or have any specific asks, please include that in the Q&A section as well. And we'll gather that and we'll put that in our planning process for future webinars. We do have a couple of upcoming webinars and we'll cover those more in detail at the very end of this presentation, just to let you guys know what additional topics are coming up in the next couple of weeks, okay? So we're super excited to cover this off with you guys, and I'm going to hand this over to Robbie right now. Robbie, as the Director of Sales, is tied in to the feedback from our dealer partners on a minute-by-minute, day-by-day basis. He oversees our account management team that works with our partners and also works closely with our tech support team. So he's very tied in with what's going on out there in the industry and kind of the issues that you guys face each and every day. So Robbie, I'll just hand it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. As you mentioned, my name is Robbie Thomas. I'm the Director of Sales. Before we get started, I want to reiterate what Chris just said, and I'd like to thank everybody for your time. I realize more than probably a lot of people that your time is very, very valuable. So thank you for spending it with us. When we start to talk about the state of the industry, what I would really like to preface is, kind of the state of the world, and I'd like to lead in on what everyone has faced leading us to this point. And by that, I mean, I remember, and I'm sure all of y'all remember that, COVID-19 shut down the whole world, the world economy, shut down the whole planet basically in 2020. Most of us believe that nothing could be more challenging than that in the future. As the world came out of being shut down and the industries came back online, demand spiked because everybody had been cooped up for a while. Our world's really seen a host of challenges. We've been facing double-digit inflation. Almost every commodity product out there has doubled or tripled due to scarcity and demand. We've seen shortages in the supply chain, from semiconductor shortages to wood shortages to container shortages. You name it, shortages. Our world has faced it. These challenges that we're seeing in our industry are seen in every vertical with these shortages. Our production times went from an average of 45 days in our industry to having it from when we started a production run, having it on the water to this year. You know, we've seen production runs take up to 180 days or longer to get produced and on the water, all related to these shortages. And this affects everybody. And where it really affected the U.S. economy the most was we have just-in-time inventory models. So most every industry, most every company will typically keep 2 to 3 months worth of inventory on hand based around the average production run. So they're looking at their run rate and their forecast, and then they stock to that with the 2 or 3 month run rate. With the longer lead times and all the production delays I've listed, you know, we've seen shortages. Everything's out of stock, you know, from the car industry to security cameras. When you layer in all of those realities and then take a step back and layer in the political realities of our industry, you know, you have to look at things like the previous administration increased tariffs, which increased our cost in our industry. In the last administration, we saw the previous administration stop U.S. technologies from being used and sold in China. That affected a lot of production factories and semiconductor factories in our industry. You layer in the legislative ban with the NDAA. It originally banned 5 companies in 2018, 2019. That was expanded to all their subsidiaries, which, you know, expanded out to a host of companies, and it put even more pressure on our industry. You take a look at the current administration. Many people would have bet that they would have got more lax on some of these bans and tariffs and whatever, but we've seen quite the opposite. They haven't stopped. They've actually layered to a lot of these bans with the FCC ban on all the NDAA manufacturers and subsidiaries. And what that really means to y'all is every manufacturer, or almost every manufacturer, OEM and ODM, cannot manufacture old products because the chips are no longer available due to the ban on US technologies. And you can't develop new PCB boards with new chips and get them FCC licensed and imported. So what that means to every dealer that I speak to is they are reevaluating their products that they're going to carry and support. So, you know, what I would like to talk to you about and what this really means is how does Alibi help you with all of those realities? You know, what I would like to talk to you about is, you know, we have been in business for 30 plus years. You know, this is not our first rodeo. We have built products in America, Mexico, Canada, Japan, South Korea, parts of Asia, Taiwan, China. We have built products all over the world for all through the decades. Anytime we've made a transition from one factory to the next factory to the next factory, we have never left you in a lurch. You know, things that we're doing today are we're looking at compliance solutions with Alibi Vigilant. That's what we're here to talk about today. Alibi Vigilant has been designed and being worked on since 2019. So meaning we were looking at possibilities of what could happen and taking mitigation strategies by developing a new NDAA compliant line that was robust and full, just as full as Alibi Witness. It has a broad assortment of products to meet everybody's needs. When you think about Alibi, the brand, you also need to think about when we develop into these solutions, we're also having a cloud solution. We're having an analog solution. We're having an on-prem solution. We're doing all the integrations and everything to make sure that everything's interoperable so that you're not left in a lurch when you're having to make a decision or a transition to a new product series. Our product managers, just so everybody's clear, they've been in the industry for decades. We probably have more experience from our product managers than most every company out there. That means when we're developing our products, we're taking all that experience, all that knowledge, and we're putting it work for you. We're also having our sales and tech support. You know, we're doing training internally and externally, but you know, you should know that our sales staff has a average tenure of about 7+ years. We run a 2-to-1 sales to tech support ratio. And what that means to you is when you call our tech support for questions about this transition or questions about how something should work, you're not going to wait on hold. You're going to talk to someone located right here in Central Texas around the Austin area, and we're going to be able to help you because they've been in the industry just as long as some of our engineers. Also, when we talk about interoperability, we're really going to drive on the fact that we've taken the time to put our CGI commands from Alibi Witness recorders into our Alibi Vigilant recorders to allow them to be plug and play. Also, we get a lot of questions about taking Alibi Vigilant cameras and putting them on Witness recorders. We have an OIC team, which is our observant team that actually would take our Alibi Vigilant cameras. We will program them to make them more of a plug and play styled interface for you to put back on Witness. We know that would be a pain point if we didn't. So we're also going to demonstrate that and touch on that today. You know, what I would like to leave y'all with is everybody is facing a huge set of barriers. Our primary goal is to not just support you, but we want to give you the resources to succeed and grow. We're going to do that by, you know, our brands that we're bringing to market and carrying for you. We're going to do that by the increased inventory so that you can have it on the, you know, ships on the same day. And just to be clear, a lot of y'all have, you know, weathered the storm with us and with every other manufacturer. You know, right now I looked at our inventory of Alibi Vigilant. We have 1 camera on back order out of like 125 options. So, you know, we're in a much healthier spot for all of y'all when you're looking at Alibi Vigilant. And we're going to do everything we can and use every resource we have available to set you up for success. As I kind of end my lead in about how we got there and what we're covering, I would ask if you have any questions about what I've said, just put them in the section below on the webinar, and I'll be able to answer them as we're going through this. And if you don't have anything else, I'd like to turn it back over to Chris.
Yeah, that's a great lead in, Robbie. You know, I just want to emphasize it goes beyond just gear, right? I mean, I think fundamentally we all saw supply chain issues. Every distributor, every manufacturer had challenge kind of getting product earlier this year. We're in a super healthy inventory position now, right? And that was our commitment to make sure our dealer partners don't go without. But more importantly, there's the support and resources that we provide that go beyond the gear that should be most important to you guys. And to Robbie's point, one of the things that we're going to do to make sure everybody's really clear on the Vigilant line is we want to go through kind of what that line represents, what's it made of, what are the solutions that are kind of built into that. We'll have Norman Ragland go through that in great detail, and Patrick Liggett will also help kind of chime in on the recorder side of things. And then once we get through that piece, just so everybody has the same foundation, right? And again, I realize some of you guys and gals are very familiar with Vigilant already, but for those who aren't, we want to kind of establish that foundation. Then once we get through that, we want to go through some of those scenarios where you're trying to hook up a Vigilant camera to a Witness recorder or a Witness camera to a Vigilant recorder to show you guys the processes to make that happen and how easy it is, and the support mechanisms that we have here at Alibi Security to help you guys make that a reality. So it's just easier for your techs, right? We realize a lot of the problems happen out in the field, right? So it all starts with knowledge and making sure that knowledge gets to the right people. And we'll cover off at the very end some of the resources and tools that are always available to you guys on our YouTube channel So you guys make sure that you pass those along to your technical folks. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Norman to talk about our Alibi Vigilant line of cameras and recorders, our compliant, NDAA compliant and FCC compliant line.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you guys for attending today. As the team mentioned, a lot of the success that we had with Witness Line, we started that particular lineup in 2013. When we first brought that in, you guys are used to selling products maybe from Korea, Taiwan, is what we're used to. And then over time, just from the feedback that you guys provided, we were able to improve the product, even down to like just, anything that was a feature request. So those things are the same thing that we're implementing for the Vigilant line. I think the good thing is we learn a lot through that launch process. And when we introduced the Vigilant line, we pretty much checked the box for most of those. So overall, Vigilant, we provide this product from a host of manufacturers overseas. We supply an IP line as well as an HD analog. We support multiple resolutions from 2 meg all the way up to 12 megapixels, so cover the 4K. You'll see we specialize in a lot of Starlight models. We believe Starlight or Illuminite, which is the white light technology, is really a key differentiator for you and for your customers. Being able to provide them not just with good usable video in the daytime, but also usable video at night is really important. Things like identifying the color of a vehicle or color of an object. That's the reason why we stress the Illuminite line or even Starlight models that can do color in the day. For recorder count, we covered the entry level from 4-channel all the way up to 128-channel. We support the latest compression and even things like long distance power Ethernet. That's something that we introduced on the Witness side. That's actually something that we took from this particular manufacturer many years ago that we saw that they were developing, gave that information to the engineers over at the Witness side and implemented it into our lineup. So the same features that we offer on the Witness side, we're able to offer on the Vigilant side. There's some key things that we're doing that we did do on the Witness side previously. So if we go to the next screen. We offer from different models from a Flex series all the way up to Performance series. This is very important to keep in mind. Some of our Flex series, we offer some really neat features, especially like Starlight or even maybe some basic analytics like human detection. The thing to keep in mind is, the Flex series is more of our cost competitive lineup, entry level to mid, or any applications where you're running into maybe your customer's price shopping. This is a really good lineup for that. You'll be able to offer them cameras from 2 to 8 megapixel, Starlight technology. Some of the models offer microphones. And again, different form factors from turret, bullet, dome, fixed, and varifocal.
Yeah, so if you're used to selling the Witness value series, the Flex series is like the Vigilant value series. Just think of it that way. Yeah.
So most of the sales, just gave you guys an idea, was in our Performance series on the Witness side. So, on the Witness side, our value series didn't have Starlight, didn't have microphones. It was very much a stripped down camera series. So as Chris mentioned, if you're used to the Witness side, you're used to selling the 4 megs, the 2016s, the long range IR bullets, then the Performance series is what you need to look for. Overall, it's more robust housing. The other thing that we specialized or that we implemented was higher end optics. What you'll see is a lot of manufacturers, they'll list a really low lux rating, but they'll put a plastic lens on that camera, which then gives you maybe not the exact spec that the camera is spec'd for. What we realize is by using glass optics, lower f-stop, larger aperture, allows more light to come into the camera, producing a better picture overall. With not just the optics, but then, to cover the housings. With most of the Performance series, you're going to find full metal composite housing. Compared to the Flex, you might have a little bit of maybe a lighter metal composite or maybe a mixture of an ABS with a metal composite type of housing. As we move into Performance series, cover all the cooler cameras or the cameras with special features like fisheye, panoramics, and then some PTZs, which we'll cover some of the, we have some really cool PTZs coming out here soon.
Yeah, hey Norman, we had a great question, which we should have figured would come up about license plate cameras. I think Robbie wants to address that.
Yeah, what I'd say on license plate cameras is we realized that you want all the specialty cameras that we carried on the Witness side. Those are already all in the works. We're going to cover a roadmap here shortly, but what I will tell you is, you know, when they banned high silicon from being produced past August of 2020, once those chips were gone, they were gone, and the high silicon dominated a certain market on the high side, you know, kind of underneath AMD or Intel, but on the higher side for our industry, and nobody else had chips there. So we've had to wait for MStar or Umbrella or whomever to actually go in and develop out chips for us to then take and put on our PCB boards to do what we were doing with the LPR cameras. And Raglan will cover that here in just a minute.
Yeah, so thanks for asking that question. That's something that comes up a lot.
Yeah, license plate cameras are very popular for sure. But we'll cover that on the roadmap. So going forward, you know, we'll cover some of the HD TVI cameras. So we have a lineup of cameras that we brought in. These will cover a 2 to 8 megapixel lineup from fixed to varifocal. Most of them, if they are using a Starlight chipset, is a Sony Stardust chipset that we have in those. So we're trying to pick the best chipset, especially for analog. We're trying to do things to HD analog to improve the product, to help add advanced features or to add more features so that you could help provide those to your customers. So I think some of the things that we did, not just adding Starlight, but Illuminate, but we added microphones into most of our models. And then we're also supporting audio over coax on some of those models. If you offer the Witness QVR models or the Vigilant hybrid recorders, those two recorders support audio over coax. Some of the cool things about those is most of the HD recorders maybe only have one audio input or maybe a max of 4. With the audio over coax products, especially the recorders that are supported, you can actually tie 1-to-1. So you could have, you know, 5 cameras, 6 cameras with audio tied to that channel, tied to that recorder. So that's one that we feel, you know, improving the HD analog, whether we're adding Starlight chipsets, Illuminate technology, or adding microphones is the things that the feedback that we got from you guys.
Yeah, that audio over coax has been kind of a highly requested feature that's finally come to fruition, right, Norman?
Yeah, and that's something we worked on for quite some time, and it's originally it was the cost there's a cost barrier, so you'd have to buy a little bit more expensive recorder, and then the cameras would cost you an extra $10 to $20. In some cases, you know, $30 for a varifocal. So it's just it made it hard to convince customers to pick up one of these models when they were more comfortable with maybe adding a microphone and extra cabling. So makes it easy for them for sure.
Yeah, so a really comprehensive line of IP and HD TVI cameras to cover off, and then we'll let Patrick kind of talk about the NVR and DVR side of things as well.
Sure. So yeah, one of the things we really like about the Vigilant line is the ease of use and the flexibility that it gives. It's got a very intuitive interface. We feel once you get it in your hands and view the product, be easy to learn. You may be used to the Witness, you know, interface. You know, unlike anything else, it may be different at first, but once you start using it, it's very intuitive and easy to use. We mentioned before the compression technology and the H.265 or Ultra H.265, reducing, you know, your storage and bandwidth, you know, needs, as well as the long distance PoE built into all the plug and play NVRs, you know, extending that up to, you know, 820 feet for long distance cable runs, as well as the storage, you know, technology that's built into it for more efficient, you know, storage capabilities. Speaking of ease of use, you know, there's, you know, peer-to-peer firmware upgrading is very easy and simple to use. The peer-to-peer access, you know, does not require any port forwarding in your router, so you're reducing any vulnerabilities you may have on your network and things like that. So that's also a good benefit. You have something to add, Norman?
Yeah, I think, you know, overall, it's, you know, whether it's the Vigilant IP cameras or the recorders, I think what Patrick's kind of call out is the ease of use and then that cloud upgrade. So we offer P2P cloud connection. By doing that, you also have the ability to receive cloud-based updates on your mobile app, at the unit, via browser, via software. We just pushed a new iOS app, which now prompts you if there is an update. So when you open up the app on the iOS app, it will prompt you to say, hey, there's a device in this app that requires a firmware upgrade. Would you like to go ahead and go further with that procedure? And then you have the option of clicking yes or no. You also have the option of picking 1 or 2 cameras if you have multiple cameras on that box, just in case you don't want to disturb a recording, or maybe that camera is it's a mission critical camera. You don't want to take it down for whatever reason. So you could pick and choose which cameras. So I think, the intuitive interface, but overall just the management, which will cover some of the P2P sharing with you guys, where we have a Star4 Live account, which would manage all of your devices that you could then share with your customers. And then manage their accounts from there.
Yeah, that's a great summary, guys. Thank you. And then, as we brought the Vigilant line to market, it's not like we've brought an assortment of product to market and we're stagnant with just that product, right? We're continuing to listen to dealer feedback, dealer demand on what additional form factors, solutions, feature sets are required. And we just wanted to share a little bit with you guys about the roadmap and what additional things are coming down on the Vigilant product line, because it's pretty exciting, some of the additions we're making. And Norman, I don't think you need to go through all this as we make this available to everybody, but I think highlighting some of the key additions is really, really important.
Exactly right. I think the feedback, and then just from watching the industry, on the Witness side, some of you guys might be very familiar with the 6 megapixel cameras. So the 2016s, the 2036, the 4036, basically our entire Starlight 6 megapixel lineup has been very popular. We were one of the main movers of this lineup. A lot of the industry will mainly move 4 megapixel, which we still move a lot of those, but by adding this 6 megapixel camera is what we realized, we were able to provide you guys with something a little bit different to offer the customer. So as you're going in the door, your customer might have a 4 megapixel quote, you're coming in with a 6. But overall, you're able to provide them more pixel density, give them a better picture for daytime as well as nighttime with that Starlight chipset. And that's kind of what we saw from you guys is just in one model alone. I mean, we moved truckloads in just one dome model. And unfortunately, when we started working with our new manufacturer, and which you'll see a lot of manufacturers, they usually will specialize maybe in a 2, a 3, a 5, and then maybe an 8 megapixel. What we realized that 2, 4, 6, and 8 was a better upgrade process for you guys to kind of convince the customer to go from one res to the next. It's kind of hard to convince someone to go from a 4 to a 5 meg without really showing them, hey, this camera maybe has better Starlight. But by going from a 4 to 6, you can almost see that just, one, by doing simple math, but you're able to see that in picture quality. There is a huge difference by going from 4 to 6 megapixel. But the cut story short, we worked with our manufacturer. We helped develop this line. So we are bringing in that lineup for you. Same thing is, on the Witness side, there's a lot of models that are going away on the Witness that we're covering for the Vigilant lineup. So 2 to 8 megapixel, again, Starlight Luminite, audio with coax, full color, PTZ models. And then as we kind of, mentioned towards the end of the year, NDAA license plate cameras, fisheye, and thermal are coming out. This is just to catch up with the technology. As Robbie mentioned, with the main chip being banned, there was a lot of development behind that chip for many years to get to that level. And now a lot of guys kind of have to start over. So as we're working on this, we realize license plate, fisheye, and thermals are going to be very important. We'll have those towards the end of Q4. The thing I wanted to mention is towards the end of this year, we're bringing on a good lineup of, again, some popular cameras like that 4 megapixel long range, but we will have a 4 megapixel 4-inch outdoor with a 25 times zoom and Starlight chipset. But this will be our first camera in the Vigilant lineup with auto tracking. And I know a lot of you guys might have used auto tracking on Witness or with maybe other manufacturers, and the accuracy is usually not the greatest. This camera will use a human and vehicle detection for that tracking purpose. So you get, I think it's a 90 to 95% accuracy rate. So overall, you can set this camera up to watch a large area, and it basically will act as a guard for you. So I think, the other cool part is just the competitive price that we got on the unit. So overall, we feel this will be a game changer going forward to be able to offer you guys a high resolution, compact PTZ with smart features for the first time. And then we'll have a 5 meg 7-inch, would be more commercial with a strobe and siren that has the red and blue lights to help deter. And those are more for your commercial or any application that you want to deter. But yeah, from a very high level, you can see we have a lot of products coming out, but a lot of key products that are very specialized for different areas.
And all these new products, Norman, are they all NDAA compliant?
They are, yeah. So that's the other focus again with Vigilant. NDAA is our key. There might be some of the older models that we first brought in for some of the hybrid recorders, but again, going forward, I think we're about 95% NDAA compliant.
Yeah. There's a few specialty models, and again, we want to be completely transparent with you guys, right? There's a few specialty models. I think there may be a couple of the PTZs and the fisheye that are not, and again, that's because of the unique chipset, very similar to a license plate camera. That we wanted to offer those solutions to you guys. They're called out clearly in our catalog, whether they are or not, but we wanted to give you guys the ability to have access to those, even though they're not, but with complete disclosure. It says, hey, look, if you're trying to sell an NDAA compliant job, those are not, right? But to Norman's point, I want to say we're like 95% NDAA compliant across the board. And those that aren't, like the LPR, we're adding that, or the PTZs or specialty cameras. We're working on the next generation of that product. So it is, so the line becomes 100% across the board.
Yeah. Overall, just want to make sure whatever we bring in, future-proof for you guys from not running into any issues down the road. So
yeah, and and then part and parcel of this also, we know a lot of our dealer partners don't just do video, but they're working with monitoring stations, or they're trying to work with larger enterprise jobs. So our teams have done a great job of trying to take the Vigilant line from the outset and integrate it with some of the more requested partners out there that they use. So Norman, why don't you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, just from the feedback that we get from dealers, we integrated some of the Witness products, but going forward, especially with NDA compliant, we started getting a lot of requests for an NDA compliant that's compatible with Exact, as well as with IMEX. So whether you're doing a larger enterprise scale software solution, or you're tied to some type of central monitoring service, both of those guys integrate to our products. IMEX, we're working on finalizing all the integration with them, but right now we have Tyco and IMEX on our roadmap. I think the key thing is feedback from you guys on who you're working with. Sometimes we just we're not asking that, or you're just not maybe thinking, hey, can we tie our cameras or recorders to the system that you're using? Some of the things that come up was like DMP. That was from the feedback that we got from a lot of dealers. Hey, I use DMP, I would like to integrate to them. And so overall, this is one of those opportunities or times, if there's someone that you're working with, or someone that you're integrated with, or someone you would like for us to look into, please provide that information. We'd like to look into that and then see if there's an opportunity for us to integrate our products into those devices. So this overall, it's trying to make our products compatible with the other third-party products that are out there. Again, whether it's what we're seeing is a lot of central monitoring alarm services being done with IMEX. Literally, as soon as the NDA ban came down on, say, Hikvision or some of the other guys, we instantly got a lot of calls on our cameras being NDA compliant and wanting to be integrated. So if you guys visit Exact, you'll see, look up Alibi, and you'll see a ton of our cameras integrated. Video Insight, we're very familiar with those guys. There's someone that we've talked to before. You might be using them for schools possibly, so that's something that we have on our list, and we'll continue to march on that one for sure. So appreciate that feedback.
To Norman's point, the feedback's really important, right? If we get a bunch of dealers and partners saying, yeah, Video Insights would be awesome, or DMP is the one I use most, the more responses we get with kind of a common theme, the more important it is for us to look at that, right? And our team, it's not like we're scared to go out and look at integration partners. We are absolutely willing to do that, and they vary in complexity and how long it takes to do it. But we want to know. We want to give you guys the ability to sell more Vigilant gear as part of your overall business offering, and your feedback's valuable and important, and everyone's taken in red. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
So yeah, so I'll dive into this real quick, right? So why do we bring on the Vigilant line? Well, we've already kind of covered this, right? Robbie talked a lot about all the different factors that are affecting the industry. And really, when our team in 2019 started working on this line, it was really based on the overriding kind of government philosophy in bans, right? So, the NDAA was kind of the first shot across the bow at those 5 select Chinese companies. And based on that input and also feedback from our dealer partners, when that law became very visible in the public eye, our dealer partners started getting calls to learn more about NDAA and was their gear NDAA compliant. Well, then you throw on top of that the recent FCC ruling and regulations around not giving out new licenses under the current administration. And both of those things really go towards the need to have a solution that allows you guys to just cover off any concerns from your customers, right? So it really started with our view of how you guys were getting pinged by your customers, the feedback and questions you guys were getting way back in 2019 when all this started bubbling up, and our desire and really the impetus for us to go out and build a new line that would allow you guys to deliver compliant solutions to your customers. So, we as we talked about earlier on, we're always trying to stay ahead of what's going on from a political landscape perspective, from a technology landscape perspective, to make sure you guys have the right solutions at the right time for your customers. So is that good summary, Norman?
Oh, for sure. It's really, yeah, so like a lot of good, feedback coming through, just, Patrick over at C-Valence, appreciates the Starlight technologies, customers love it. Just, I think we're going to touch on videos here in a little bit. So we had some questions about videos.
And it's a great call out, Patrick. We appreciate that. And Norman mentioned Starlight chipsets when he was kind of reviewing some of the feature sets. Just like on the Witness line, when we brought on the Vigilant line, the focus was on building into as many products as we could the best chipsets for you guys, right? And doing it within a price point that made you guys comfortable to be able to sell that into your customers. We believe in delivering great video to customers, not just video. We want to deliver great video. So our team's always going to opt for the better options when it comes to features and chipsets, because it produces a better result for you guys. So that's awesome feedback. And I appreciate you pointing out, because I oversee the YouTube channel that you saw that caught on Alibi Starlight Security camera video. It's a great example of how the Starlight chipset works, and it works really, really well. So from a difference perspective, this is one of the questions we get a lot from our dealer partners. What's the main difference between Vigilant and Witness product? And Norman's already covered a little bit of this, but why don't you go into a little bit more detail here, Norman?
Yeah, I think overall, one is going to be the compliance. That was one of the main things that we brought in that lineup for. As far as everything else, it's going to still do the recording of video. It's still doing motion. I think the big things is our P2P cloud firmware update, our third-party integration with other partners, our third-party plug and play as well. So we support plug and play with not only Vigilant cameras, but Witness cameras, Hike Vision cameras, any other OEMs, as well as OnViv. So I think that's very powerful. And Luis will cover some videos that we created to show you how easy it is to add one to the other or vice versa. Overall, from a product lineup, it's going to be very similar. But I think overall, just making things easier for you to use, easier to manage, especially with like our cloud-based firmware upgrading, or if you want to manage your customers' P2P accounts, you're able to do that. Overall, just similar robust lineup, but I think some of the key things a lot of the dealers like to hear at the end is the price. We're very competitive on the lineup. Again, like I mentioned, we have the Flex series that allows you to be very competitive. But if you look at our Performance series, it's near the same price or less than what you guys were picking up in Witness. So hopefully the sales guys won't get too mad at me saying that, but it's a very competitive lineup, feature packed, compliant, ease of use. Overall, I think by picking up a system like this and getting familiar with it, you'll be very, very happy with it going forward, especially with just the forward and backwards compatibility. So hopefully that's, I know it's a lot, but hopefully that makes
it is a lot. Right. And just what I hear from the sales guys is the app's so much more powerful and so much more user friendly. You can literally set up and manage the system through the app. It's so easy to use. And that's where those cloud firmware updates, when you think about having to update firmware for your customers and you have to roll a truck to do that, that's the biggest waste of money for you guys, right? And having the ability to do that remotely is super powerful and just saves you time and money.
Yeah, I think the best use case we had a dealer who needed us to look in some of his customers' boxes, and he was just asking, well, how am I going to do this? Well, just share us your account. And he shared us the account. We were able to log in, kind of identify maybe one or two things that we could help improve. And overall, I think it helped the customer. At the end of it, he's like, well, you guys logged into all those boxes within 1 hour and fixed the issue, or at least addressed let me know what the issue was. So I think, support wise going forward, it just makes everything easier and more improved for sure.
Yep. On the screen, we've just got kind of an example of comparable camera models utilizing Starlight and the Illuminate feature. Why don't you talk a little bit about this, Norman?
Yeah, so again, just, we brought in the Illuminate line for the Witness lineup. We have a lot of dealers love that particular camera, that particular technology. We have some guys that's all they move. So we identified that as being a key product that we need to bring in for Vigilant. As we kind of move forward, if you don't see another camera that's better than the previous, you think the one that you're offering was better. But just from doing things like improving the chipset, improving the lens that we put on the camera, you can see there's a difference in picture quality. So even on the one at the top left, we're at a 50% white light illumination. The picture starts to get overexposed, it starts to bloom, you start to get some haziness. Overall, you're losing that detail or that crispness. What you see on the bottom right is the Vigilant Starlight. Overall, a crisp picture, no saturation, less artifacting, overall a clear picture. So just, you can see the difference in just day and night as far as what we're offering from one to the other. And going forward, especially when you're able to show this to your customer. Here's a picture, and the one on the bottom right, that was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And unfortunately, my neighbor's light was on, but around 3 o'clock in the morning is pretty much you're getting at the darkest point of the night. And you can see that it's still performing better than the other camera that was kind of around 10 o'clock or so. So overall, you're going to see better picture quality, especially for nighttime. And it's kind of hard to tell the guys when and I know someone asked for pictures and demo videos, which we'll share, but you'll see things like our 2 meg Starlight on Vigilant outperforms our 4 meg on the Witness side. So just until you kind of do a side by side or look at one or the other, you don't know that there's a big difference till you try it out.
It's a good call out. And then here's the other big question, guys, and this is where we're going to bring in Luis, who spent many years in our technical support area and now is in charge of our video content online and was producing awesome videos to make sure that you guys have the tools and resources to learn everything you need to know about the new Vigilant line. But are the Vigilant line and Witness line compatible? Right, big question. So the first thing we want to cover is we're going to cover off integrating Witness cameras and Vigilant recorders. And before I hand it over to Luis, Norman, is there anything you want to add on here before he dives in? Because I think this is probably where we get into a lot of the technical interface. We start really drilling down. It's probably what a lot of people here are on this webinar for. Do you want to give any kind of overview or summary real quick?
Yeah, just overall, we wanted to make it as easy as possible. So, we did add in a type of code into our recorder that allows you to plug and play to a Witness camera or say a high vision camera easily. But, there are different methods on getting cameras, whether it's plugging it back to the recorder or going through a switch. There are different methods. And I think, going forward, as we create videos, we'll make those different videos for different options for you guys. But overall, you're going to see it's fairly simple, and I think once you start to using and get into it, you'll see how intuitive it is.
Yep, cool. All right, Luis, we'll hand it over to you, man. Take it away.
All right, so I'm having some technical difficulties over here. My screen capture software just decided to kind of freeze up. So if you guys can give me maybe a couple more minutes, maybe I can get it up and running again, and I can continue from there. So I don't know why all of a sudden just froze, but I'm trying to get it to come back up. So if you give me 1 second.
That's how it usually works.
Of course it does.
Yeah. But to talk about the camera plug and play portion. So if you have a Witness camera, especially if it's using the newer firmware, which we recommend, if the camera is in a default status or brand new, You can literally take that brand new camera, plug an Ethernet cable, plug into the back of the recorder, and within just a minute or so, it will activate it and populate the video for you. The thing to keep in mind is maybe some of the settings like bit rate adjustments or maybe switching H.264 to 265. You might, some of those things might not all cross over. So you might have to go into the camera to do some adjustments and then that will push it down. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of getting those up and running. Same thing with like an OnViv protocol. Majority of, if it's whether it's a major brand or whether it's a Vigilant brand, we support OnViv protocol. So I would say, from all the cameras I've tested, 95% of them work. Some of the, when I say older cameras, imagine the first OnViv 1.0 before we got to the 2.0. A lot of those we start to see some issues. So again, overall, if you're trying to plug and play, we made it very easy for you guys. If you pull in a camera through the network, it's very easy to configure that and add those to the channel. I think, the thing I stress in all the training classes, especially with dealers, is our making sure that they use our Vigilant tool, our toolbox. With that, they're able to manipulate the camera, adjust the IP address, password. Same time, you could find all the cameras on your network, and then you can find the recorder on your network, and you can say, hey, I want to add these cameras to this particular recorder, just doing it all through the software. So you're not actually in the unit doing it. You're not doing it through the browser. You're doing it through the tool itself. Mm-hmm. So we find that the tool is very useful. I mean, guys like me and Patrick, Luis, guys in tech support, a lot of our dealers, once you kind of start to use that tool, you'll see how intuitive, how easy it is, pretty much getting your cameras up and running, or at least finding out what's going on with them. Why, what IP address scheme is it on? Can I change the password from here? Pretty much anything you want to do to the unit, you're able to do through the software itself.
Yeah, and Norman, it's a great call. One of the things we don't talk a lot about when we're talking about the Vigilant line is the toolbox set, right? One of the things we're never going to do is we're never going to bring on a new line when we're replacing an older line and have less, right? So I think when we look at the toolbox, all the tools we had for Witness, we're at least comparable, if not better, on usability and just kind of general tool set on Vigilant, right?
No, for sure. I mean, from covering the mobile app, we have it, iOS device as well as Android. Same thing with software. We support PC as well as Mac. We have a multi-client that's compatible with both as well. So it's basically all the same assets that we're providing, or all the same maintenance tools, or all the same software tools that we provided for Witness. We check the box on the Vigilant side, but I think overall it's a more intuitive toolbox, and then you could do more with it, is what we're seeing.
Yeah, cool.
All right, yeah, I think I'm ready to go now. So,
all right, well, let me stop sharing and we'll hand it right over to you.
All right, let me share my screen. So most of you may recognize at least my voice from tech support. I've kind of was in tech support for the past 3.5 years, helped a lot of you guys get through a lot of small problems and big problems. Let me get my screen going here. And today I'm just going to show you kind of how to add a Witness camera over to a Vigilant unit, and then vice versa. We're going to go Vigilant cameras to Witness units. So it's a pretty simple process to overall. As you can see here, I have a camera, a Witness camera kind of plugged into a PoE switch. Let's say we just took this camera off of a Witness unit, kind of has the 254.3 subnet on it.
Hey, Luis, can you click that little box and make your screen a little bit bigger? There you go.
Sir.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks.
And so what we need to do here, like we would do for any Witness to Witness unit, like if we had a Witness camera going to a Witness unit, we would have to default this camera anyways, right? If you want to add it to another unit. So this is going to be the exact same process that we're going to use for the Vigilant line. If we want to use that plug and play feature, adding a Witness camera to a Vigilant unit, the camera just needs to be in a default state, right? So that's nothing has changed from what you guys are used to doing a Witness to Witness. So here I'm just going to add it to the top panel here so we can do some configuration on the camera. As you notice, it does show up on top here. So we have all these other options available to us. So we can select this camera under system configuration. We're just going to hit restore, which is basically defaulting the unit. We're going to go to complete restoration. It's going to completely default that camera. We're going to give it a second here to kind of do its thing. It's going to reboot. We'll hit the refresh option here, and the camera will disappear for a second because it is rebooting. While that is rebooting, from the Vigilant unit, there's nothing you need to do, right? You're just going to plug and play. As soon as you get that camera plugged in, it will use the plug and play feature and pop up on the unit. And I'm going to display that here in a second. As soon as this camera reboots, it should show up back here in the tool. It's going to have an inactive state. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Once you plug a new camera in, it shows up and it does have that inactive state, which means it's waiting for something to activate it. And that's the perfect time. That's the state you want it to be in when you do plug it into either even a Witness unit, like I said, or a new Vigilant unit. As long as it's in that inactive state, it will be ready to plug in. All right, so you see that it did pop back up here. The security is inactive. We don't need to mess with any of that. The IP address is at the default address. So what I'm going to do now, let me share my screen over here so you guys can actually see the unit. And I'm going to take that camera, and I'm going to unplug it from the switch, and I'm going to plug it into port number 2 on this unit.
And he's in the Vigilant recorder right now. Just so everybody.
So I just went and plugged it directly into port number 2 here. We'll give it a few seconds to kind of do its plug and play situation. But as you notice here, I already have a Alibi Witness PTZ camera plugged in that I did the exact same process on earlier. And I kind of just wanted to go over a couple features while this other camera is syncing. You do still have the capability of motion detection. I do have this camera set up for motion. As you can see here, it has a little motion grid on the right-hand side. So if I go to the live view here, and I put my hand up in the corner here, you'll notice that the little activity and the recording icon does show up. So it is recording motion there, right? If we go to the PTZ function, you do have full PTZ function as well with the Witness cameras. You can zoom in and out. I don't need to get too crazy. I'm just in a room here, but so yeah, you do have all that. You have your OSD control, image controls as well. You know, a lot of options still available with the Witness camera adding to a Vigilant unit. So let's hit the refresh here. As you notice, that protocol did change to OnViv, which means it is talking to the camera. And you'll typically take about, you know, between 30 seconds to a minute, and there it is. It did pop up. So if I hit the play option here, that camera is now live on this Vigilant unit, right? So it's a very simple process, really no different than what you did with your Witness to Witness units. As long as you default that camera, you can plug it into any Vigilant unit, and it will, you know, pop right up on the screen. So you do have, like I said, you still have all the options. You have 2 cameras online now. Both of these are Witness cameras. One's a PTZ. You do have all the same, a lot of the capabilities that you had with Witness to Witness. So in the end, the product managers and everybody involved try to make it as seamless as possible, try to make the transition, because we knew that, you know, Vigilant cameras on the Witness was probably going to be a big thing. So overall, just to make it easier for you guys out there, they did integrate that plug and play feature going from Witness to Vigilant. So I think that this demo here just shows you how quick and easy it is, just with the right tools, using the toolbox. Even a simple PoE switch how far you can get if you're on site and you need to, you know, add these cameras, switch these cameras from a Witness unit over to a Vigilant. So
Yeah, that's
I
great.
think the cool thing the other thing I want to touch on is, you know, he showed you how to default the camera through the software tool. That was through the Witness tool. You do have the option of, you know, he's showing you the easier way so you don't have to get up on a ladder and hold that reset button. But you can also do it that way as well. So just basically defaulting the camera through the software, or hard reset by holding down the reset button for 10 seconds or more will reset that camera back to a default state.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of you guys over the years, and I know that the whole getting on a ladder thing is probably the last thing you want to do. So I mean, and I think I've reiterated it also when, you know, on phone calls, you know, keeping track of, you know, camera passwords, et cetera, is going to save you a lot of time in the long run. You know, we are there to help to do password resets a lot of times, but if you have 15, 20 cameras, it's really important to try to keep track of those passwords. Also inside the Witness unit, if the Witness unit is still available, it's still working, you can go into the camera menu and display those passwords to the cameras, right? So before you unhook everything, you can go into the camera menu, hit the show password option, and it'll give you all the passwords to the cameras. You can just take a picture of that with your cell phone and then move forward with integrating it with your Vigilant unit. So good call out for Norman there, though.
Yeah, cool. So Witness cameras to Vigilant, really plug and play. I mean, that's as the dumb marketing guy, that's what I get out of that, right? We default the camera, it's plug and play onto the unit, right? So when probably the little more complicated is Vigilant cameras to Witness recorders, right? And I know that Luis right now is going through, he's got to rehook up some stuff on his end. And while we give him time doing that, Norman, why don't you talk about a few of the things that the dealers need to be aware of or consider as we're talking about Vigilant cameras on the Witness recorders? Because we fundamentally realize there are a lot of recorders out there. You know, we may have some of our dealers, I think some of them shared it actually in the Q&A. It's like, I got a bunch of Witness units out there, right? And when I got customers that want to add new cameras to it, you know, if Witness cameras aren't available anymore and I want to put Vigilant on there because I like the Vigilant cameras, how do I do that, right? Can I do that, right? And so these are some, you know, Luis will go through the specific technical pieces of it and show you on the user interface. Why don't you talk about some of the key considerations just up front?
Yeah, you know, same thing. We try to make it easy. So producing a video, I think, was key. You know, we show you kind of how to do it. Basically, it's configuring an IP address and password and matching that in the recorder. But the other thing that we started doing is we offer a configuration service in-house. So if you talk to your account manager and you're wanting to do something like this, we can actually configure those cameras for you to where they're already plug and play. So all you have to do is once you get the box, there's going to be an IP address on the camera box and the password. You're going to enter that information into the recorder. Once you do that, it will activate, and then you pretty much have a plug and play from there. So we did that just to eliminate that one step for you guys. So if you don't have a PC or if you don't want to sit on site and configure that camera, which Luis is going to show you, we could do that for you in-house. So, you know, mention that to your account manager. Robbie, as far as I believe we're doing that for free. So again, eliminating an extra step for you guys to make it easier. So once you get the box, you see the information, input it from point A to point B, you're up and running. So I think overall we made it easy, but you know, that's through a plug and play process. You can still find these cameras on your network and bring them in. I think the thing that I forgot to mention on the other video or the other Witness to Vigilant is, you know, we have a lot of customers with Witness cameras up and running. They want to replace the head end. A lot of them assume they could just, you know, take the head end and swap out a new one and plug it in. It's going to work. Without knowing that extra information, it's not gonna just plug and play. You'll either have to default or match that information. So same thing with what Luis was about to show you, but I think overall we made it very easy on whether it's Vigilant to Witness or Vigilant to Witness recorders, you know, vice versa. We made it very easy for you guys to get these up and running.
Yeah. So Luis is going to go. Luis, are you ready right now? Yeah. So Luis is going to go through this right now, guys. He's going to show you truly how easy it is to do this. But more importantly, Robbie mentioned the OIC earlier in this presentation, our Observant Integration Center. We are here to support you guys. For some reason, you don't want to mess with it. Norman's already walked the entire OIC and the technical support team through how this happens. We've got processes set up. You just need to let your account manager know that you want that added on to your order. And we'll help you guys out with that process to make it super simple. All right, Luis, fire away.
Here we go. So when you're adding Vigilant cameras to a Witness unit, it's a pretty simple process as well. Let me share my screen here. So as you can see here, I do have the Alibi Vigilant toolbox pulled up, and I do have two brand new Vigilant cameras plugged into a PoE switch. These cameras, you can use a PoE switch, you can use a 12-volt adapter connected to your router, however you would like to do it. These cameras are by default will pull an address from your network, right? So that's why I have a 154 and 183. They're kind of on random addresses pulled from my router. The default password, if you guys are not familiar already with Vigilant products, is 123456, and that's going to be a huge benefit when you're using the tool. What we want to do first to these cameras is we want to, I'm going to get brave here and do two cameras at the same time, just because you guys, I would assume usually you do more than one camera. What we need to do is get these cameras over to the same internal subnet as the Witness camera network, right? So the Witness units use the 192.168.254.xx as their internal subnet. And we need to put these cameras over to that subnet in order for them to connect directly to the back of the unit and work properly. So we'll hit the modify IP option. And as you can see here, since I have both cameras selected, it does give me a range option. You can choose whatever you would like. We recommend staying above 30 since most of our recorders go up to 24 ports. Just to be safe, we want to go 30 and up. So we can do 30 here, and it shows that I'm going 30 to 31 for these two cameras. When you hit OK, the tool automatically has the 123456 password integrated in it. So it will log into the camera and change the address. So let me actually put 254 here, .30, then 254.31. And then and you see how it has the password here, 123456 already there with the brand new camera. You don't need to change any of the passwords. So you just hit OK here. It says modifying succeeded for both cameras. You hit close. And now these cameras are ready to connect to the witness recorder. We do still have to make a few option. We still have to change a few things on the witness recorder. I'm going to show that right now. Let me get my camera menu pulled up.
So what he did was he just basically matched that the witness recorders has an internal network card for the PoE switch and then one for networking. So he's covering kind of that internal switch for you guys.
So you can see here, like there's no cameras connected to this witness recorder, but they have kind of placeholders of the 254 network. So what we need to do here is just kind of hit the edit button on this channel 1 here. We'll switch it to manual. And we'll type in .30 here. So we'll just move this over. So there's a little bit more, manual integration here when you're doing this, but it's still very seamless process. We'll switch this to OnViv, and then we'll type in 123456, the password of that Vigilant camera.
4 steps.
Yeah, and then we'll hit OK here. And while that one is kind of syncing up, we'll go ahead and do the 31 here. So we'll switch this to manual. Switch this to 31. We'll switch the protocol to OnViv, and then you'll put your password 123456. And then we'll hit OK here. So now these ports are ready for me to plug the cameras in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Let me see here. Just to make sure I've got the right cameras in the right port. So 30 is wireless cameras.
So now Luis is physically unplugging those cameras from that switch, and then he's going to plug them right into the back of that recorder to channel 1 and 2 that he just assigned. So you can see it's pretty much a 4-step process.
Yeah, let me share back to the recorder here, so you can guys see it pop up here.
And also, Jay had a question about as far as viewing the passwords on that witness recorder. So show them that show password button, just to let them know.
Okay.
It does require an admin login to view those passwords once the camera's online. But as you can see right there above, there's a show password button.
Yeah, so I plugged the first camera in. The first camera was connected with the 12-volt adapter, so it integrated real quick. I'm waiting for the second one to power up and boot up, so it's going to take a little bit longer. And there it goes, right? So now if I go back to the live view, I do have both of those cameras online. Those are Vigilant cameras on this unit. So let's go back to the show password option. But basically, it just shows you how quick and easy it is to get a Vigilant camera over to a Witness unit. So here's the show password option here. It's going to ask for the admin password of the box. And let me put my password in, super safe, 7 1s in the queue. Hit OK here, and you notice that it shows the password here to the right-hand side, the 123456. So if you do have previous going back to the the Vigilant to Witness units, or the Witness to Vigilant units, if you do need to reel those passwords, you can use that show password option. But as you can see here, these cameras are online. They do have motion detection and continuous recording with the OnViv protocol. So, you have image control, etc. A pretty simple process of basically, and what I always tell people is with Witness to Vigilant, it's a 2-step process, right? Basically, default the camera and connect it. With Vigilant to Witness, it's more of like a 3-step process, right? You have to configure the camera, configure the unit, and then plug the camera in, and then you kind of get to where you need to go. So overall, it's a real simple process. I just did these 2 cameras in less than 5 minutes. Probably could have been quicker if I didn't have to switch screens, etc. But you know, as always, our tech support team is there to help you guys. They know this process through and through. They should be able to walk you through this without any issues. If you do have any questions, or you know, also this webinar, I'm sure is going to be on YouTube as well. So if you need to kind of go back and view that, you can go back and view the webinar. So
Yeah, well, so not only will we have the webinar up, Luis, but I
Mhm.
went ahead and started sharing my screen again.
sure.
When you guys go out to the Alibi Security YouTube channel, we've already got these videos populated out here, right? They're under how to set up an installation, adding Witness IP cameras to Vigilant MDR, adding Vigilant IP cameras to Witness MDR. I implore you to get your techs to watch these. Watch them multiple times. They'll see how easy it is. We will make this webinar available, but rather than having to muddle through all the, you know, the overview of the line and stuff like that, if you guys are just really interested in the technical how to, we've already got those videos populated and ready for you guys. And then when you go to playlists, we have created an entire Alibi Vigilant cameras and recorder playlist. You can see all the different videos we've got set up, right? This is what Luis does. How to camera settings, how to backup, how to video playback, how to storage setting, how to initial setup. I highly recommend get your techs to sit down and watch this. If you guys are really interested in Vigilant Line, you want to make it work in your business, have your techs watch this. You watch it. They're super simple. They're like 3-4 minute videos at most. They're super powerful. They show you how super simple the user interface is, and we'll just make it really click for you guys. Cool. And again, go ahead. I heard somebody wanting to say something.
Yeah, I think overall, just, you know, hopefully from the demo and then the videos, you can see how easy getting one, you know, brand onto the other is. And I think without showing you guys, you know, what Luis just showed you, or having a video, it's kind of hard just kind of word of mouthing it to each other. And until you actually try it or get into it, you know, you might be a little hesitant to try it out, or you might stumble through it. So I think the videos will help you, especially your technicians, if they watch it, it'll make it very easy to understand for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they can watch these YouTube videos while they're on site if they're having issues. I mean, they're not like 15-minute videos. They're super short. They're compact. They're just what Luis walked through. You captured in video format, and we, you know, dolled them up with some graphics and stuff. But it's the same thing we just went through. So our YouTube channel, just, you know, I'm the marketing guy, so I'm always going to promote this. If you guys see those videos and you like them, make sure you're subscribing. We've got a full court press on producing great content to make your jobs easier. Every time we add a video, if you're subscribed and you hit that little bell, you'll get notified. That way, you know there may be something out there that you need to have your text looked at, right? If you've been selling Witness and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I've been selling this 6 meg from Witness, and now I want to sell the comparable product for Alibi Vigilant. How do I make that cross-reference? Well, we've got a tool online. If you go to alibisecurity.com/alibi-vigilant, scroll down on that page, there's a spreadsheet, just a matrix that we put together. It's not super sexy, but it shows you, here's the Vigilant SKU, here's the comparable SKU for Vigilant. So it makes it really easy for you guys just to kind of go down and see the model you're used to selling and how you would kind of transfer that into the Vigilant line of product. Cool.
I want to say also too, with the YouTube channel, if you guys are watching these videos, make sure to leave comments. You know, if you have any questions or comments, put them on the videos. We're going to try to be more interactive with the comment section. I know we currently do read those comments, and we do use those, use that information, that feedback, while we're having our video priority meetings. So if you do have something that is important, you feel like is kind of something that you want us to cover, you know, leave us a comment there, and we'll definitely take that into consideration when we're kind of getting the video planning together. So
yeah, we're always looking for direct feedback from the account managers, feedback from our Facebook page, feedback from the comment section of our videos if there are things we're just not covering well. And that allows us to kind of prioritize additional content that we need to produce to make it easier for you guys. So I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. We're running a little bit over, but I think the technical side of this thing is really important to make sure everybody's comfortable with it. And Robbie, thank you for covering off all the Q&A along the way. It's not like we got a big queue of Q&A that we need to answer. I think you've kind of knocked everything out of the park as it's come in. So thank you for that. We do have a couple of other webinars coming up. So next week, we're going to be focusing on cloud, right? We haven't talked about Alibi Cloud VS in a long time. If you're interested in our camera to cloud video solution, join us next week. We're actually going to be talking about the solution in the context of the fact that we've been selling this for almost 2 years now. So we've got a lot of good feedback from our dealer partners on why this works, what applications it works well in. We've seen success with multi-site, multi-user applications, but more importantly, we're going to have a couple dealer partners on to talk about the success that they've seen and why, and how and why they've started selling cloud in specific circumstances or applications. Then, if you want to dive more into Vigilant, on September the 9th, we're going to have a follow-up to this where we're going to talk about how to sell Vigilant, how to position it. Taking the top 20 or so SKUs from Witness and talking about the comparable SKUs for Vigilant. So our goal is to make you guys super comfortable with our new line. And again, I implore you guys, as you think about what you're selling, in order to eliminate any of those compliance conversations with your customers, Vigilant's the answer for you guys right now, right? Like we talked about, with the exception of like 3 SKUs, everything's NDAA compliant. Just eliminate that from any conversations you need to have with customers. And more importantly, if you want to dive deeper, talk to your dedicated account manager. Our seniority is unsurpassed in the industry. They are here to help you guys. If you have specific technical questions, they'll get Patrick, they'll get Norman, they'll get Luis, they'll talk to Robbie, they'll talk to the technical support team to get you guys the answers that you need so we make sure you're successful out there in the field. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Alibi Security team, technical team. You guys make us look super smart, which we appreciate. And thank you to everybody that attended the webinar on the user side of things. Again, we're here to support you. We're here to make sure you guys are successful. We're here to make sure you guys can adopt new products and, more importantly, are comfortable setting up and managing those and selling them to your customers, and that you believe in those products once they're out there, providing great video security for your customer base. So thanks again to everybody. We really appreciate your time and attention today, and we'll see you guys on the next video live webinar series. And you guys can always go out to our continuing education page on the website and find links for those webinars. They should be up a little bit later on today to register for those next sessions. Thanks, everybody.